Africa is one of the most beautiful places in the world. In fact, it's a place most people can only dream of going. Now, I was lucky enough to come here a few years ago as a producer, see all the beautiful animals, but I wasn't exactly hunting. I was able to shoot one kudu, but it was all gun hunting, and my primary role, well, that was filming everyone else. But this time, I was going to be coming as the hunter. The first morning out, well, I was really excited to be in Africa, but I was a little tired as well, and we decided to go out with a gun first. Now, we were going to try doing some spot and stock hunting, and my adrenaline was pumping. It wasn't more than a half hour into our hunt on the first morning, and we came across a group of zebra. And we had a beautiful setup. The mares were crossing the road, and all we had to do is wait for that one stallion to come through. Finally, he appeared. I was ready, locked in on the sticks, and you wouldn't believe it, but he put a small little zebra in front of him and walked right across my shooting lane. If you ask me, one smart zebra. There was no reason to dwell on the fact that we didn't have a chance at the zebra or get a close shot. We had plenty of other game, and within probably an hour, we were inside an entire mess of impala. One of the frustrating parts of this entire hunt was the fact that we would get up close to the impala, almost get ready, you could see just a small part, but when you look through the scope, you can't see the vitals that you need to see for that good shot. So you'd end up moving, changing positions again. Sure, you could see a little piece, but you could never get the shot that you need. And it can be tough because you get so close, you keep stalking these animals, and it just doesn't work out. It is almost impossible to get shots on some of these animals. It is so thick of cover. As you can see, I can barely see through it with my naked eye, much less putting the scope up on it. I can see pieces of animals, just horn tips or just parts of the body, but to make a good clean shot, it is super tough in here. After a trying morning of spot and stock hunting with my gun, I didn't want to pass up the opportunity to do a little bow hunting. There was a water hole that was close by that people had been seeing some game at, and there were a lot of tracks around it. So we decided to set up there for the afternoon and test our luck with a bow. We had only been sitting at the water hole for maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, and wouldn't you know, blue wildebeest come in. Now these are a super tough animal to get close to in Africa, and now on our first day, well, we had them within 20 yards. I don't see a bull right now. There's cows everywhere. They were calm, they were getting a drink, but no bull. We were waiting for him to come in, and just like any big mature bull, well, he hung back until he made sure it was safe. Once everything was good, the cows were drinking, the big boy stepped up. As the bull stepped up to drink, I drew my bow because I wanted to make sure I was ready and prepared. But he stood there drinking, but I only had a straight on shot. Now I wouldn't take that on any animal, much less a huge blue wildebeest. So I was waiting and waiting and waiting, and this big bull wouldn't turn. Finally, he lifted his head, ready to turn, and he got right where I needed him to be and kept walking. Now the hard part about the blind we were in, we had very small windows. I'm talking small angles for a bow hunt. I've got one shot down the middle, and if he steps out of it, I've got no shot. Okay, that's him, right? Right? That's him? That's my shot. I can't take him now. These narrow little windows, I just didn't have the angle. As soon as he turned, I needed that quarter and away shot. These are huge animals, and I just moved, made a little too much noise with my feet, and just blew out the whole herd. Now, I really was disappointed because I had the perfect quarter and away shot. I had been ready, but because of the window, there was just no way I could make the angle, made a little bit too much noise, and this beautiful entire herd spooked out, and I was left sitting at the water hole.
Winchester's Deadly Passion is presented by Winchester Ammunition, Thompson Center, Cuddyback Digital, Bond Pod, Cabela's, She Outdoor Apparel, and Hunter Safety System.
When people think of Africa, a lot of times they think, well, driving around in a truck. But the way I see Africa, tons of beautiful animals. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I have no interest in ever shooting a giraffe or a baboon. But these are things that really make me think of Africa. And coming in, one of the very first things we saw, beautiful giraffe. Now, they are just so cool seeing them run away. I really enjoyed it. And for me, that was just as exciting as seeing something that I'd possibly be hunting. A lot of people don't think of Africa as a place for bow hunters, but it is an incredible place. And the reason why? The number of game. Now, as a bow hunter, I enjoy seeing everything around. It's not just about the animal that I'll be going after. And when you sit at a water hole, you have no idea what you're gonna see. Now, sure, you can try spot and stalking in the bush, but I'll be honest, it is tough to get a gunshot out there because it is so thick. So the best way for a bow hunter, sit tight. Now, you're not going to be in a tree stand like many people would think, like in the Midwest, but we actually got to a place where it's like my own little dungeon. It's a small place where we could go in, have a ground eye-level shot, and see all the game. Now, water holes are super important in Africa. If you think about it, it is really dry, and every animal out here, well, they need to hit water at some point during the day. So by sitting at a water hole, you just have no idea what could step out next. The number one thing we were seeing, impala. There are a ton of impala, and I kind of associate these kind of with our antelope. They're a small, wiry animal, really cool to look at, but the rams are absolutely beautiful. And the bonus, we were hitting it during the impala rut. Now, I had no idea coming here that we would be so lucky to be in during the rut. Now, these rut, very similar to whitetails or elk. They are pushing the ewes around, they're snorting, they're fighting, all the cool things that come with being in the rut, and we were seeing it all within 20 yards. Now, there's not time to sit around and be bummed out about missing my opportunity on the blue wildebeest. As the light started to fade, a lone impala ram came into the water hole. Now, I was completely prepared, and I wasn't gonna take a chance. It's a nice impala ram. Here, take him. As soon as this impala got to my open window, I was gonna take the shot. He came in broadside, stopped perfectly, and I put a shot right behind his shoulder. I got a perfect pass through, and I had a very good idea that this was gonna be a great trick.
Melissa, that was a great shot, huh?
I can see the luminous right there.
Yeah, I can see the arrow, huh?
It went right through him. It was like,
yeah.
Looked.
Brilliant, huh? It was a very good shot. Wow.
Look at that cutting diameter.
Yeah. Okay, let's look here. Going this way. Oh yeah, there is it lying, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Just over there.
Check this out. Beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. My very first ever impala. Been sitting at a water hole, had some awesome encounters tonight, but just made an awesome shot. You can see, range put a pretty big hole in him. Not a bad way to start out your first day in Africa.
Tip of the week is brought to you by Can-Am. The facts say a lot, but the ride says it all.
When you're hunting a place such as Africa, one thing you don't want to forget is to bring along your trail camera. Now, I like to use them whitetail hunting, but they can be just as effective in places such as Africa. For example, I'm hunting water holes, so I've got my cuddyback attack up so I can see what's coming and when they're coming. Now, it can be a huge help because, of course, you can't sit here day and night. So this way you can see what's coming in. Perfect example. We haven't seen a gemsbuck yet, but my cuddyback showed me they're coming at night. Same with the blue wildebeest. Some of them have started watering during the evenings. But how it can help you? Well, we found out at 6:08 and 6:09, we've got blue wildebeest here, so I can assure you tomorrow morning, I'm gonna be here bright and early. Now again, we've got a lot of pictures on this camera. In fact, we've got 45 photos, and this is just from last evening. So this should give us a good idea of what's coming and when, so we can plan our hunt accordingly. South Africa is an extremely game-rich environment, but it's tough hunting. And the reason why? The cover is so thick. It is really tough because you may see just a little tip of a horn or a flash of an animal going through, but to get a good shot, to be able to see those vitals and see what's going on, well, it is tough. But that's why I brought my bow, and that's why I love water holes. After shooting my first impala the night before and having countless other animals parade around in front of the camera, we decided to head back to our little slice of heaven and see what else Africa had in store. We had been seeing a ton of impala, and finally we had a group of kudu coming in. A few cows coming in and a huge bull. It looked big to me behind them, and they were coming up to the water, and just as he got right to the edge, they all decided to scatter and get out of it. Now I have no idea why they didn't drink, but it was so close, and I felt like, well, the water hole might be a good chance for a kudu. The trick to a water hole is setting up in an area where the animals are comfortable. Well, we had the perfect setup. They had a blind that had been built a long time before we had got here. In fact, it was all cement and rock and the perfect setup. We would have a dark area to shoot from, and the animals were completely comfortable with it. Not much later, we had a little bit smaller bull come in and actually drink. Now this was super tempting. I got to full draw trying to decide, is this the bull that I want? And I'd been hearing so many stories of big bulls, and let's face it, the one that was just there earlier, well, he hadn't left my mind yet. So I decided to let down and just let this bull walk. He was beautiful, but he'd probably be even bigger in about a year or two, and I knew there were some absolute giants in the area. We had a lone cow come in, and I really was excited. My adrenaline was pumping, and I thought there'd be a bull right behind her, but no such luck. She walked away, and there we were waiting for a bull, and nothing else came. Not even a half hour later, and we caught a glimpse of a kudu bull coming in to the water. He was a jaw dropper right from the beginning. As soon as I saw him, I knew there's no question, this is a shooter. As he slowly made his way to the water, he went right in and got a drink. But after his first drink, you could tell. He seemed nervous, and I wasn't sure why. He kept looking over at my little GoPro camera, and I was hoping, as cool as the footage would probably be, I didn't want it to spook him. As he went down for another drink, he decided no way, and picked up his head, and he looked like he was leaving. Now I knew this was my shot. I got to full draw, waited for the shot. He was broadside, and I placed it right in the area I needed to hit. I've got very good penetration right behind the shoulder where I needed it to be, but this is a huge African animal, so you want to make sure to give it some time. What an absolutely beautiful animal. Check out the size of this rack. This is by far the biggest kudu I have ever seen, not to mention I got him with a bow. To me, there is nothing better than having an animal this size come in close. We're talking inside 20 yards. Check out this. Beautiful tips, just thick bases all the way through. Absolute beauty. As far as I'm concerned in Africa, a kudu is the best animal out here, and I couldn't be more proud than to have taken him with the bow. Plus the fact he's an absolute giant.
Winchester's Deadly Passion is presented by Swarovski Optic, North American Hunting Club, Rage Broadheads, Matthews, Can-Am, Wildlife Research Center, and Hot Mox.
I expected the water hole to be good, but not this good. From the time we got in the blind set up, we had animals coming through almost constantly. And the best part about a water hole, well, you never know what type of animal could be coming next. It was a complete surprise to me to find out that the impala were rutting. Now this was quite a show. Of course water holes are fun, but when you can have impala rutting in there, well that makes it super exciting. Now I already had an impala down, but when this big ram came in, well he was one old looking dude. He was grunting, going crazy, and really acted like he owned the place. I let him do his thing, watched him run around, and when he presented the perfect shot, well, I couldn't resist. This was really cool. I have never heard them grunting like this. This guy was going crazy. We had just set up for an evening hunt, and one thing I like to do is draw my bow, make sure everything's in order, and also check those narrow windows. That way I know where I'm standing, where my shots will be. As I'm at full draw, looking out the window, oh crap, huge warthog, huge warthog. Get over here, over the shoulder. Can you see him, Brad? I can't see him. I have to get in front of him. Wouldn't you know, a big warthog runs right through my pin. Is he big? Now I've been looking for a warthog since day one, and I couldn't even believe it. I thought I was imagining it. I think he's okay. Is he okay? Are you ready, Brad? Warthogs are an extremely tough animal. In fact, for their size, probably one of the toughest in Africa. But the thing is, you need to make sure you are inching right in by that shoulder because you have to get the vitals or you won't recover them. I don't know. I'm not sure if I got enough penetration. What do you think, Victor?
I didn't have much view. You wasn't having much view.
Well, on this shot, I put it in close, but I was afraid it was too close. Maybe too close to that shoulder. I just wasn't sure if my arrow was going to have enough penetration to make it through. In the US, hogs have a huge, huge shoulder and are very, very tough to penetrate through with an arrow. Same goes for these warthogs in Africa. But as I walked up and saw the penetration on this arrow, I knew I had exactly what I needed. Well, the good news is it looks like we've got enough penetration. Yeah. Look at that. We've got that much penetration to busted the broadhead off. Yeah. The good news is it didn't just hit that shoulder. That's right where his vitals are. Yeah. My guess is at least one lung, hopefully a lot of blood, but well, we've given him enough time. I think we can go see if we can trail him.
Okay.
Look at that.
Oh, it's a very big one. Look, even the tusks, very big one. Yeah,
very nice tusks.
Very nice tusks, yeah.
Let's see.
You can see the curve of the tusk. It shows that is a big one.
That is cool.
Yeah.
You know, this is one thing in Africa I really wanted to get, a beautiful warthog. I just think they're so cool. They're warts. Very nice old one. Look at that.
Yeah, it's a nice old one.
These warthogs can smell. They're super wary, especially when they get this old. and I just couldn't be happier to take them with my bow and to finally find them. We've got a great blood trail, everything worked out wonderful, and I've got a wonderful warthog.
Coming up next week on Winchester's Deadly Passion, Melissa heads to Illinois for an early season whitetail hunt. All her preparation and scouting pay off as she scores her first opening day buck. With her Missouri property only a few hours away, Melissa hits the road. We're talking one sweet early season double. Almost 300 inches of whitetail in 3 days, all under 10 yards.